You wake up at 6:12 a.m. to a sound you have spent years pretending not to hate. It is not an alarm. It is not traffic. It is your neighbor's rooster standing on a warped plywood ramp behind a chain-link fence, announcing himself to a suburb that did not ask. There are 9 chickens in that yard, 1 rooster, 6 hens, 2 half-grown juveniles that still look confused about the assignment. The coop is painted red, in the way things become red when someone watched 3 tutorials and got optimistic. There is a heat lamp clipped inside for winter. There is a blue plastic waterer. There is a feeder full of cracked corn and pellets, and a handwritten sign on the gate that says fresh eggs, $5, which is adorable because these are not pioneers. These are pampered little dinosaurs with a suburban support system and a woman named Denise who posts them on Facebook, and then Denise vanishes. Not just Denise, everyone. Every human on Earth gone in the same second, leaving behind 34 billion domestic chickens, and absolutely no one to keep pretending this arrangement was stable. What happens next to your neighbor's birds is not cute. It is not pastoral. It is a mass sorting event, so brutal that the modern chicken, an animal engineered to convert grain into meat and eggs with industrial efficiency, gets dragged back through evolution by the throat. And if enough of them survive, if enough of them make it past the first winter, the first predators, the first decades without feed buckets and fenced yards, their descendants do something astonishing. They do not become eagles. They do not become tiny feathered raptors from a movie poster. They become something much stranger, built not by nostalgia, but by pressure. Right now, though, the rooster is still screaming over a fence line in a quiet neighborhood, and the hens are still pecking at commercial feed, as if breakfast will continue forever. It will not. The first 48 hours are deceptively easy. Backyard chickens are already halfway feral compared to broilers in industrial sheds. They know how to scratch. They know how to peck. They know that bugs exist, and that leaves conceal things worth eating. Your neighbor's flock spends day 1 doing what chickens always do, which is wandering in tight, anxious little loops and treating every new object like a possible food source or a possible betrayal. The coop door is still open because Denise forgot to latch it the night humanity disappeared, which means these birds have immediate access to the yard. That matters. A lot of chickens die in locked coops over the first week, trapped beside empty feeders like tiny feathery prisoners of suburban optimism. Your neighbor's birds are luckier. They have grass, beetles, spilled seed, and a vegetable garden 3 yards over that no one is defending anymore. By day 5, the feed is gone. Commercial layers are not built for graceful self-sufficiency. A modern laying hen can produce 250 to 320 eggs per year, which is biologically absurd. Her wild ancestor, the red jungle fowl of Southeast Asia, lays maybe 10 to 15 eggs in a clutch and then stops. Your neighbor's hens have been pushed by generations of selection into a metabolic sprint with no finish line. They are nutrient extraction machines wrapped in feathers. Remove the pellets, the calcium supplements, the clean water, and the entire system starts wobbling immediately. Eggshells thin, body mass drops, molting becomes erratic. The hens keep laying at first because evolution always lags behind disaster by 1 generation, and sometimes several. Then they start paying for it. The rooster does better. Of course he does. Roosters are freeloaders with spurs. He is not draining calcium into eggs every 26 hours. He is spending his energy on vigilance, mating, and being loud at things that cannot possibly care. In the first month, that arrogance actually helps. He spots hawks. He spots cats. He spots the red fox that starts circling the neighborhood once the dogs thin out, and the trash stops replenishing itself. He makes alarm calls the hens understand instantly, because chickens, despite their reputation, are not stupid in the ways you assume. They have at least 24 distinct vocalizations with specific meanings. Different calls for aerial predators. Different calls for ground threats. Food calls that function like recruitment signals. A rooster is not just decorative noise. He is a security system with feathers and a personality disorder. But security systems get eaten. Week 3 is when the neighborhood learns what an unfed chicken actually is. It is not farm imagery. It is prey. Raccoons discover the coop first. then foxes. Then feral cats pick off juveniles that stray too far from cover. In warmer regions, snakes raid nests. In colder regions, exposure starts doing quiet work at night when the heat lamps fail and the birds roost damp after rain. The first generation dies hard. Heavy breeds go first. Orpingtons, Cornishes, giant decorative things bred to be round and calm and edible. They collapse under pressure almost immediately. Bodies too large, flight too weak, instincts blunted by generations of management. A broiler chicken trying to survive in the wild is not an animal. It is a deadline. Your neighbor's flock is mixed. That saves them. Backyard chicken people love variety, the way aquarium owners love making ecological mistakes on purpose. Denise has 2 Rhode Island Reds, a barred rock, a couple of Easter eggers, 1 lean little game fowl mix she got from someone in a parking lot, and the rooster, who looks mostly like a mutt assembled from spare poultry. That genetic mess is exactly what survival wants, not purity. Purity is what dies first. Functional legs, moderate body size, decent foraging behavior, enough wariness to sprint for cover before the shadow. Overhead becomes talons. Those are the traits that matter now. Within 6 months, the survivors stop looking like backyard collectibles and start looking like a category biologists already know very well. Feral chickens exist right now in Hawaii, Key West, parts of the Caribbean, Southeast Asia, and countless villages where birds range freely, and humans only sort of own them. And they converge fast. Medium size, long legs, smaller combs in cold climates to reduce frost damage, more cryptic coloration in hens, because the bright white birds get seen first and eaten first. Roosters keep some absurdity because sexual selection is a deeply unserious force with catastrophic confidence, but even that gets trimmed by hawks. A 6-pound rooster with a giant red sail on his head is not a king. He is a flag. 10 years after humans disappear, the domestic chicken population has crashed by more than 95% globally. That sounds extreme until you remember how many chickens existed, only because humans were manufacturing their environment hour by hour. Industrial broilers cannot sustain themselves. Many literally grow too fast for their own skeletons. Some modern meat breeds reach slaughter weight in 6 to 8 weeks. Their hearts fail. Their joints deform. They overheat. They sit down and do not get back up. Remove climate control and processed feed, and those lineages vanish almost immediately. Entire bloodlines disappear before the second generation. What remains are village birds, backyard mutts, game fowl, escaped layers, and any population lucky enough to hybridize with jungle fowl or other hardy landraces early. And here's where it gets interesting. Chickens are ground birds, but not helplessly so. The red jungle fowl, their wild ancestor, can fly into trees to roost, burst through underbrush, and survive in dense edge habitat by doing exactly what your neighbor's hens had almost forgotten how to do. Hide. The post-human world rewards edge specialists brutally well. As suburbs decay, they become a mosaic of shrubs, fruit trees, collapsing fences, weed-choked lots, and insect-rich gardens. This is paradise for a bird that wants seeds, shoots, beetles, fallen fruit, and low branches to sleep in. The first stable feral populations form not in open fields, but in the ragged borderlands between forest and ruin. 100 years in, there are no breeds. Not in the meaningful sense. There are lineages, regional ecotypes, and a whole lot of birds that would all be called chicken by you. And absolutely not by each other if they had taxonomic opinions. In North America, the survivors are leaner than their ancestors, averaging 1.2 to 2.5 kilograms for hens and slightly more for roosters. Egg production has fallen dramatically, down from industrial absurdity to seasonal clutches that mothers can actually support. Broodiness returns because incubators are gone, and mothers that sit successfully leave descendants, while mothers that keep producing eggs until they collapse do not. Natural selection is deleting your breakfast. The social structure changes too. Domestic flocks already operate through pecking orders, which sounds quaint until you watch one. It is not quaint. It is a low-budget dictatorship. Dominant birds monopolize food, roosting positions, and mating access. In feral populations, these hierarchies sharpen because rank now affects survival. High roosts mean fewer nocturnal predators. Early access to rich foraging patches means enough protein to molt cleanly and breed on time. The birds become more mobile, more suspicious, and much better at reading each other. What survives is not friendliness. It is social competence with a knife under the table. At 1,000 years, geographic divergence is obvious. Tropical forest chickens in former Southeast Asia and Central America remain close to jungle fowl proportions. Agile, short-wing burst capable, sexually dimorphic, omnivorous, fast. They roost high, nest low, and spend their lives threading through understory like little feathered burglars. In colder temperate regions, a heavier woodland form emerges with denser plumage, reduced combs, and stronger scratch feet for digging through leaf litter and snow crust. On islands with few mammalian predators, some populations become larger and more terrestrial, laying fewer but bigger eggs and investing heavily in chick defense. On predator-rich mainlands, the opposite happens. Birds get quicker, more secretive, and more willing to abandon a nest to save themselves. This is not bad parenting. It is statistics. And then some of them leave the forest edge entirely. Grasslands, once maintained by agriculture, grazing, and fire suppression, become vast mixed habitats of scrub and open meadow. Here, a different chicken starts to emerge. Longer, tarsi, narrower body, more upright posture, better endurance on foot. These birds spend less time fluttering into trees and more time running through cover in coordinated loose groups that flush insects and small vertebrates as they move. Modern chickens will already eat mice, lizards, frogs, even small snakes if they can catch them. They are not seed-only pacifists. They are opportunists wearing Easter branding. In open country, that opportunism scales up. 10,000 years after humans vanish, the chicken lineage has split into multiple species. The smallest forest forms still look recognizably chicken-like. If your idea of a chicken includes competence, but the grassland descendants are stranger. They stand nearly 90 centimeters tall, weigh 8 to 12 kilograms, and hunt in family groups, not packs. Birds are too chaotic for that word. But related clusters of 6 to 10 individuals move through tall grass flushing rodents, raiding nests, and mobbing anything smaller than themselves. Their beaks are deeper and more hooked at the tip. Their legs are powerful enough to deliver slashing kicks with enlarged spurs in both sexes. Because once predation becomes a full-time job, the old sexual ornaments start getting repurposed into hardware. This is convergent evolution doing what it always does. Give enough time to a medium-sized ground bird in open habitat, and eventually it starts solving the same problems. Pheasants, sariemas, secretary birds, and terror birds solved in their own ways. How do you see over grass, run down prey, and kill it without hands? You get taller, you get faster, you weaponize the feet, you turn the head into a precision tool and the leg into a hammer. Not because evolution is creative, because it is repetitive and mean. One lineage in former South America goes especially far. The mammalian predator guild there crashes after several climatic swings and disease bottlenecks around the 200,000-year mark, leaving medium-sized diurnal hunting niches surprisingly open. The chicken descendants already occupying scrublands expand into them fast. By 500,000 years, they are 1.4 meters tall, 25 kilograms, and almost fully flightless. Their wings are reduced, but still useful for balance, braking, and explosive display during territorial contests. Their tails are stiffer. Their necks are longer. The beak is no longer a pecking instrument with side hustles. It is a strike weapon. They do not chase antelope. Relax. This is still a chicken lineage, not a movie studio. They hunt things in the 0.5 to 8 kilogram range. Rodents, lagomorph descendants, reptiles, juvenile ground mammals, other birds. They kill by repeated downward blows and pinning kicks, then tear with the beak. It is ugly. It is efficient. And if you saw one standing in waist-high grass, staring at you with one eye while the rest of its group fans out behind cover, you would understand in one immediate prehistoric second that the phrase bird brain was a tactical error. Meanwhile, another lineage takes the opposite route. In dense post-urban forests across Eastern Asia, small canopy-roosting chicken descendants become lighter, quieter, and more arboreal. Not true tree birds, the architecture is wrong for that, but they develop stronger grasping toes, shortened tails for maneuvering, and remarkable vocal complexity. Jungle fowl already possess sophisticated communication, and in cluttered habitats where visual contact is limited, selection favors birds that can encode more information acoustically. By 1 million years, these forest forms use call systems with combinatorial structure. Predator type, urgency, location. Not language in the human sense, but not nothing. A rustle overhead means one thing. A snake below the roost means another. The difference matters if you would prefer your chicks remain internal. 5 million years after humans disappear, the genus Gallus is gone, replaced by a radiation of post-chicken birds, occupying niches from insectivore to omnivore to mesopredator. The largest grassland hunters top 70 kilograms in some continental interiors, though most remain smaller because giant birds are engineering projects with a lot of failure points. Bones must stay light enough to move, strong enough to absorb impacts, and efficient enough to grow on seasonal food. Still, a 70-kilogram descendant of your neighbor's hen is not impossible. It is just deeply impolite. Its skull is narrow. The eyes sit high. The beak edge carries serration-like keratin ridges for gripping struggling prey. The legs are columnar, but spring-loaded, built less like a turkey and more like a secretary bird that got ideas. It covers 20 kilometers in a day while foraging. Family bands defend territories of 40 square kilometers, with drumming displays, low resonant calls, and violent spur fighting that can open body cavities. The chicks hatch striped and cryptic, freezing flat at alarm calls, while adults confront threats head-on. This is not bravery. This is what happens when enough generations survive by standing their ground against things that bleed. And then deep time keeps going. At 20 million years, climate oscillations fragment continents into shifting mosaics of dry plains, thorn scrub, and seasonal woodland. The largest predatory chicken descendants split repeatedly. Some become pursuit hunters of open country, long-legged and narrow-bodied. Others become ambush specialists in scrub, bulkier and darker, with explosive acceleration over short distances. A dwarf island form evolves crushing beaks for shellfish and crabs. A wetland lineage develops elongated toes and stalks amphibians through reed beds like a nightmare assembled from leftovers. Over 120 species descend from the domestic chicken radiation alone. The apex plains form is the one that matters for the image in your head. It stands 2.1 meters tall at the crown, weighs 140 kilograms, and moves with the calm mechanical confidence of something that has never once needed your approval. It is not featherless. That would be stupid. It carries dense contour feathers over the body, display plumes on the neck, and insulating down hidden beneath. The forelimbs are reduced to stabilizing fans. The hind limbs do the real work. Each foot bears 3 forward toes and a killing spur along the inner digit, now enlarged into a keratinous blade nearly 11 centimeters long. The beak strikes first. The foot finishes, it hunts herd young, medium grazers, and anything injured enough to become arithmetic. A hunting group of 4 can isolate prey with lateral feints and intimidation displays, not because they are geniuses, but because lineages that accidentally coordinated better ate more reliably for millions of years. Their call system includes location pulses, threat barks, recruitment booms, and a low infrasonic drumming produced by throat sacs during territorial season. You do not hear the lowest notes from far away. You feel them in your ribs and decide, correctly, that the grass is hiding a problem. And all of this began behind your fence line with Denise's rooster screaming at dawn like he owned the sun. He did not own anything. Neither did Denise. Domestication feels permanent while it is happening. That is the trick. You build a coop. You clip a wing. You select for eggs, for meat, for docility, for color, for absurd feathered feet that make survival in wet grass a fungal side quest. You think you have redesigned the animal? What you have actually done is pause the filter and replace it with your own. Remove yourself, and the old filter comes back online immediately. It does not care about your favorite breed. It cares about tendon strength, clutch size, vigilance, parasite resistance, the angle of a spur, the speed of a sprint to cover. Somewhere 20 million years from now, In a wind-bent plain, where your neighborhood is a buried mineral rumor, a hunting bird descended from your neighbor's chickens stands over fresh-killed prey while three striped juveniles peck experimentally at the blood around its feet. It lifts its head. The throat sac expands. A low pulse rolls across the grass. Others answer from beyond the ridge. The sound is deep, territorial, ancient. And if you could hear it, really hear it, underneath all that distance and bone and time, you would still recognize the rooster.